Who are you? You get over 10 years, you get a bit uppity, don't you? I'm Bob, I'm an alcoholic. And I'm sober through the grace of a God that I didn't believe in when I got here. I was afraid to believe in. That I've accessed and maintained through actions given to me by good sponsorship, actions given to me through a book called Alcoholics Anonymous, a consistent and persistent effort of trying to forget myself and make helping others my primary purpose, and consequently I haven't had a drink or any of the things that people like me have used to try to soothe and control their sobriety since October 31st, 1978. I want to thank Trey. He doesn't know it, but he's been such a good host that there's a host hall of fame at the General Service Office, and they're building a statue of him this weekend. It's pretty good. Congratulations on 10 years. The bad part about that is now people are going to expect you to be better, you know? And I want the chanters, the people that holler out stuff during the readings. You gave me a deeper understanding of the term attention deficit. I didn't know what that meant until I realized what was going on here. I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. Jesus. I'm a member of a group that I'm very proud to serve in, and proud to be a member of. It's called Connect the Dots in Las Vegas. It's a 3-legacy group. We do 14 panels every week in the treatment centers. We have 4 major meetings. It's all solution, no problems. If you need to go take a meeting hostage with your problem du jour, you're not coming to our group. You're going to go somewhere else. And it's got a lot of newcomers because we do a lot of panels in the treatment centers, and a lot of people. I'm not the oldest member there by any means. There's a lot of people sober over 50 years at that group. A lot of people in their 40s, and I'm starting to get to an age where I don't feel as much like I'm in the middle of the herd, you know, and it bothers me a little bit. I liked having all these people that were my heroes in front of me, you know. And it started out in Alcoholics Anonymous, like a lot of us. You follow these people that are amazing. Did you ever know that it's like these old timers? They know more about you than you do. It's like, how do they do that? And you follow them into AA, and you follow them into service, and you follow them into action. And over the years, the ones in front of you the herd gets thinner. And it's a sad thing. But I'm very grateful that those people were in my life. There's several of the speakers here come from a lineage and come from the guy that was my sponsor for over 28 years, from Clancy. And I just really loved having him as a sponsor. He was so good for me. He had an just an incredible sense of humor. And usually at my expense, but that's... And, you know, there's an old adage in AA that I don't think is true. It says, let us love you until you can finally love yourself. Well, that would make a good recovery store bumper sticker, but it's not that. That's not my experience. My first 2 sponsors, Clancy and my first sponsor, it was more like, let us make fun of you until you can finally make fun of yourself. Oh, Clancy was beautiful. I just couldn't, I hadn't thought about this in a long time. I was at a fairly large conference, probably 1,000 people, and he was the Saturday night speaker, and an angel lost his wings. And he was the Saturday night speaker, and they had, as often is the case, they had a raffle. And I've been to a lot of conferences that have raffle, but this particular conference, the raffle was endless. I mean, it must have been 150 or more items, and it just went on and on and on. And everybody's eyes are glazing over. And they were like raffling doilies and stuff. I mean, it was just stuff that, what are you doing? And Clancy's sitting up in the front, and he's just very patient, and you never know what he's going to do. And the raffle's finally over, and everybody's just kind of glad it's over. And he gets up to the podium, he says, well, now I know why Jesus whipped the moneylenders in the temple. Where does he get that stuff? He just pulls that stuff out of the air. Oh, and I miss him. And I have great sponsorship today. I've always had a sponsor. I will always need a sponsor. I've watched people that outgrow their ability to be sponsorable, and it's not good. Because I have alcoholism. I have a fatal terminal disease. It's the only terminal disease I know of that if you have it, it uses your own mind against you. So when we die of alcoholism, we don't know what's happening to us. And guys like me die because we underestimate alcoholism and we overestimate ourselves. And I hope none of us in this room do that, because that's bad for guys like me. I didn't know what it was to be an alcoholic. I didn't want to be an alcoholic. That first line in chapter 3 is universal, it seems, of people I've talked to. You can look back over doesn't matter how long you're sober, you look back at a time when you didn't want to be an alcoholic. Matter of fact, you argued with people that tried to tell you were an alcoholic because you knew they were stupid. And we don't want to be an alcoholic. And yet I am an alcoholic, and I'm arguing with that. I'm looking for things to support my premise that I'm not really an alcoholic. And people who argue with the truth get sick. And I argued with the reality of my life. And I did. One of the ways I did it is I could sit in meetings. And I went to my first meeting. I was 20 years old. I was in a treatment center in the early 70s. And I needed AA. But I was too arrogant. I was too full of me. I couldn't even hear you, because why should you listen to stupid people, you know? So I don't even hear you. I'm too full of myself. Now, if you would have pulled me aside and said, Bob, you're arrogant, it's going to kill you, I would have said, I'm not arrogant, I just ruined my life. I was arrogant because I thought I'm the lowest piece of crap in the room, yet I'm smarter than everybody in the room, right? And my actions were the actions of an arrogant person that was too good or too smart or too something to do what the other people in AA did that were saving their lives. And I didn't want to be an alcoholic. But I was in an institution, you know, and I was in a lot of institutions. And we'd go around the room in these groups, and to get to me, you know, and I'd say, I'm Bob and I'm an alcoholic. I don't believe that. Here's what's really, if I could have been honest, I would have said, my name's Bob and I don't want to be here, and I feel horrible, and I don't want a problem with you, so I'm an alcoholic. Because I don't want any confrontation. And I don't want anybody trying to lecture me. And so I admit, under those kind of circumstances, I'll admit about anything. But in our book, in step 1, it says that we learned we had to fully, which is a lot, fully is more than half, I suspect. We had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were real alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. I couldn't do that. First of all, I don't even know what innermost self is. I'm a guy who lives in the control center between my ears, where I manage the universe, where I run scenarios, where I have conversations with people that aren't in the room. You know, that's my war room is right up here. And so innermost self, I don't even know what that is. And I don't know what an alcoholic is, truly. I don't even know what I'm saying. When I tell you today that I'm an alcoholic, I'm telling you certain things that if you're a chronic alcoholic, you know, because they're true for you. The commonality. I almost died because I sat in meetings and I looked for the differences. And man, if you want to come here and look for the differences, this is a target-rich environment. First of all, I There's 5 or 6 drugs I did that I didn't hear people talking about. I suffered from depression. I suffered from anxiety at times where I'd feel like I was having a nervous breakdown. I have suffered from that thing that now they have pills for it and they have a label on it, that social anxiety disorder. I had that before it came out. You know, that feeling of not fitting, you know, that was one of the first things I identified with it. People in AA say, oh, every time I got sober, I didn't fit anywhere. I go, oh, yeah. I had that. I had emotional problems. I had mental problems. Nobody in AA ever talked about how my head tormented me with unsolved problems and just, oh my God, it never let up. I had relationship problems. I had family problems. I had money problems. I had job problems. And you're trying to say my real problem is alcoholism. Ah, come on. Yeah. I admit that I had a DUI and I went to jail a couple. Yeah, but that could happen to anybody. This other stuff is more important. And so if you're sitting here and you don't want to get better and you don't want to change, look for the differences. Because if don't have the same thing that we have, then why would you do what we do? And that was I didn't know that I had a terminal illness that had the most amazing defense mechanisms. So consequently, I think guys like me all the time, we die of this disease and we don't even know what it is. It's killing us. We might think it's a pistol in our mouth, or we might think it's a drug overdose, or we might think it was hitting that bridge abutment at 80 miles an hour, or going into that bar we shouldn't have went into and talked to some guys we shouldn't have even talked to, or hanging ourselves in a county jail cell. And these are all things that I've known people that have had those things, that have done those things, that's been their experience. Alcoholism is a fatal disease, and it kills some of us without ever taking a drink. I can't even tell you how many, couple dozen people at least that I've known very personally that committed suicide sober. And I get it, man, no, I get it. Because what if you're suffering, suffering, sober, and you know alcohol, you've burnt that out, you know that isn't even going to help. What do you do to blot you out? I know what you do. You do what I tried to do in 1978. Just let's make it stop. And alcoholism kills alcoholics. Some of us without ever taking another drink. And so I'm sitting in AA meetings, I'm looking for the differences. I don't even know what I have. And when I say I'm an alcoholic, you know that there was a time in the early days of my drinking where I found an effect from alcohol that was a game changer for me. I remember I was 13 years old and the first time I ever got lit up. And it's funny, I didn't even know that I didn't feel that good until I really felt good. You know, it's like, I just thought, our alcoholic life seems the only normal one. Yeah, how you doing, bub? But first time I got lit up, oh, man. I remember thinking to myself, I want to feel this way the rest of my life. This is it. This is better. Oh my God, this is better than sports. This is better than anything. And I tried to keep at that. But I have alcoholism. And I don't know what that means. But I have a disease that's not good because as the years go on, it progresses and it always gets worse. It never gets better. And when I start drinking, which at one time, the first few years, was the magic medicine for all the secret, squirmy things that ain't right with me. And what happens over time is the medicine stops working. And yet I can't drink without getting in trouble. I'm that guy. I have this allergy to alcohol. I don't know that I have it. I didn't think I had it. I remember being in treatment centers and people talk about, well, if you're an alcoholic, you have this allergy to alcohol, this phenomenon of craving. And I think, I'm coming, Yoda. I start drinking, I can't stop, and I don't know it because alcoholism and this allergic reaction to alcohol uses my own mind against me. And I've had these experiences where you can't see it because it looks like it's something different than what it really is. I remember one time I was staying on a guy's couch because that's what happens to guys like me. I wouldn't have considered myself homeless. I just camp places, and I'm camping on this guy's couch, and I come to, and I'm in trouble. I'm a blackout drinker. I'm bad. It's matter of fact, if I could get Coke or speed, I would do it because then I wouldn't black out. But then you remember some of that stuff. That's not good either. And so I blacked out a lot, and I don't know about you guys, but I never did anything good in a blackout. No, nobody ever said to me, oh, Bob, you were so helpful last night, You peed in our kitchen. You hit on my grandmother. You stole my stash. You told everybody at the party you beat Bruce Lee in a karate match. And these are actual things that I'm ashamed to admit that I've experienced. So I come to on this guy's sofa, and I had a bad drink, got drunk, so drunk, I got the shakes again in the morning, how you come to and you got to grab yourself, it's bad. And I don't remember what happened last night, but the whole night's not a blackout. There's a couple snapshots, where you remember a couple things, but they're not good. They're horrible things. And then the guy who I'm sleeping on his couch, I think he's some kind of codependent because he just lives to tell me what I did the night before. You know what I mean? It's like Christmas with him. He just gets glee out of that. The more shameful and embarrassing it is, the better he likes it. And he's painting this picture, and it's if you're like me, you get faced with things that you've done that you can't believe it. You can't believe it. And yet the evidence has mounted that over the years of blackout drinking, that it's true, I guess. And so I'm sitting on that sofa, and I'm thinking, I'm making my mind up, man, I can't do that again, for God's sakes. I could have went to jail. Now there's a whole group of people in town. I can't even go around them. I'm so embarrassed. Oh, God, I can't do this anymore. But yet I'm nervous, and I get the tremors a little bit, And I'm supposed to meet my buddies down at Dots, which is the corner bar, where we shoot pool and sometimes play music in the back room. And oh God, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And so if you're like that, and you're dug yourself into a hole, you need a plan. And I had a plan. And the plan was, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to that bar, and I'm just going to have 8 drinks, just 8. 8's a good number. I never did anything bizarre on 8 drinks. That's always north of 12 somewhere. 8, I can calm my nerves down a little bit. 8 drinks. I can have some fun. I might even have a couple laughs, shoot some pool with my buddies. 8 drink, good plan. And I felt confident. I felt secure because I'm going to get some relief. I'm going to have a little bit of fun. And I'm not going to do what I did last night, for God's sakes. 8 drinks. And I went to the bar, and I'll tell you, it was a good plan. Until I got to 7. I'm finishing up that 7th drink, and all of a sudden, I just realized, 8's a stupid number. I mean, Jesus, what was I thinking? That's crazy. 12's a better number. And you know what happened? It's happened to you. I got just as out of it and just as shamed, embarrassed, and oh God, same thing. And if you would have asked me, Bob, that's that phenomenon of craving the people in AA are talking about. I'd say, no, it's not. Well, you said you were only going to have 8. I said, yeah, but I changed my mind. I always changed my mind. And alcoholism will change your mind. And it's why we have no mental defense against this thing. If you have the mind of a chronic alcoholic, you'll forget what you should remember and remember what you should forget. It's crazy. I could have checked into detox, or I could have been, as I came to in the county jail, I could have been sobbing and swearing to myself and meaning it that I'm never touching that stuff again. But after a couple weeks, I can't remember that anymore. But you know what I got? I don't have the very good recall of the pain and the shame and the embarrassment, but I got some pretty solid euphoric recall. I can remember what drinking was like when I was going to the clubs and it was working and it allowed me to come out and play and talk to people and feel like I was a part of. The sad part of that is I start chasing it, and that reality hasn't been true for years. The end of my drinking, late-stage alcoholism, is horrible. It's like paying very high rent on a house that already burnt down. I mean, it's the fun. I'm chasing the ghosts of parties past, and it's making a punk out of me. And I don't know what's wrong, because I go up 3 months sober, 3 weeks sober, and I go to get drunk with an excitement and anticipation of fun. But there ain't no fun. And the last couple of years I drank in depression. One of the great things that alcohol did for me, it stopped doing it. And that was it. No matter how much shame and self-loathing and hatred I had for myself, I could get drunk and just shed all that guilt and remorse. But not at the end. So I'd be sitting by myself often, drunk and crying, because I hate who I've become. I hate myself. I loathe myself. Of course I do. If someone else would have done to my life and my loved ones what I did to them, I'd want to kill them. That's right. So is it any mystery that guys like me end up hating ourselves? And I'm telling you, it's hard to save your own life when you secretly hate yourself. And I'm in and out of these treatment centers. I go to these I'm made to go to these meetings. I don't like AA. AA's, it's offensive. It's just bad. Oh my God, it's just crazy. Everybody in AA, nobody in AA looks the way I feel. They're all oh my God, they're grateful for everything. I'm in a halfway house. I just burnt my life to the ground. I remember sitting in one thinking, I was depressed. I felt horrible. And I've got to listen to this endless procession of AAs telling me their wonderful stories of how great their life is. I remember sitting thinking this is hell. It's not just that you've ruined your life and there's nothing to live for, that you're going to spend whatever time you have left having your face rubbed in how wonderful these stupid people are. Oh, happy. And God, you ever been newly sober and it's horrible, you're depressed, you hate yourself. And some goofball in AA will come up to you and goes, "Has anyone told you they loved you today?" That's horrible. I mean, because they're going to try to hug you, and I don't like anybody touching me. Don't touch me. Oh my God. Anybody tell you they love? God. That creeps me out to this day. I mean, and all this God stuff. I came here, I was a wannabe atheist. Now, I wasn't really an atheist, because I've known some real atheists, and you have to be very religious about your atheism to be a good atheist. I just can't get that kind of angst behind it. I'm just afraid. I'm just scared that if there is a God, I am in a lot of trouble. I feel stained and just, I feel crappy at a level that I can't even put into words. So if there is a God, he ain't going to help me. I could see some of the people and, hey, you're nice people. Might help you. But you don't know some of the things I've done. I've done some very disgusting things. I've done some things that nobody in AA talked about. And I believed in the core of my being that I'm stained in a way that's I'm unredeemable. And so with that kind of decision and that kind of perspective, I don't have to do anything except just get sober and suffer until I can't take it anymore, and then get drunk, and that makes me miserable until I can't take that anymore. And then I get sober again, and I suffer that until I can't take it anymore. Because for all intensive purposes, my suffering seems to get worse when I get sober. So it's hard, if that's true for you, it's hard to buy the idea that you're an alcoholic, because alcohol has something to do with alcohol. And you're sober and you're not drinking, you're going to AA meetings, and you don't feel, you're not good here. I get a big secret: without the effect produced by alcohol, I felt like I was nothing. Like I don't fit any, I'm no good. I'm just no good. So I don't get a sponsor, because everybody in AA is stupid. You know, the happy, clappy, religious people, you know. And I had this fantasy. I remember talking to a counselor, probably mid-70s, I suppose, in a treatment center. I remember telling this guy, he says, you know, if you don't get sober, eventually you're going to die. I said, yeah, I know. Like, I didn't really care, but I said, well, I suspect if it ever gets really horrible enough, and really if it gets horrible, 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 and I hit a bad enough bottom, maybe then I'll go do AA. Because that's what you sit in meetings and you hear people, they always talk about, I had to go so low before I could get sober. And I thought, well, okay. So that's what's going to have to happen to me. I'm just going to have to get such a horrible bottom. And 2 years before I got sober, I hit the worst bottom I could ever hit. I remember I had to go to Maine because I don't have any friends left in Pennsylvania or New York, and I got one friend left in Maine. And he's a good guy. He's my only friend and my best friend. And I called him up because I had to get out of Pennsylvania because people are looking for me. And I got to get up there, and I got to get out of here. And he said, come on up, man. You can sleep on my couch. I'll get you a job in the paper mill I work in. It'll be fine. And he's a good guy. And I hustled enough for a Trailways bus ticket, and I got up there, and he did exactly what he said. He got me a job there. He let me sleep on his couch. He even kept me drunk for the first few days I was up there. And he was a good guy. And then we get off work one night. We were working the swing shift, and we got off about midnight, and it was just enough time to get some wine before the place closed up. And we got a gallon. This is before they had metric. It was a gallon of Richard's Wild Irish Rose. Yeah. Every time I say Richard's Wild Irish Rose, I feel like I need a moment of silence, just... So the last thing I remember, we're drinking, we're smoking pot. Last thing I remember, there's about this much in the bottom of this jug left. And that's the last thing I remember, is looking at that, thinking, oh my God, we're going to drink this all. Next thing I know, I'm coming to in jail. And I'm sick. And I am sick. I come to, I'm on that bench, cot, just rocking back and forth, grabbing myself like I want to jump out of my skin. I'm shaking, I'm miserably. I need out of here, and I need a drink. But I'm thinking, okay, Chris, my buddy, Chris, He'll get me out of here. He can put his car up. He's a good guy. He's going to do whatever's necessary to get me out of here because I need some medicine. And the guard comes down, gets me out of that holding cell and takes me into an office with a detective who starts to tell me that I'm there because I took a hunting knife with a blade about this long the night before and I opened up Chris's chest and he was in intensive care and he was going to die. And as he's telling me that, I look down at my blue jeans and they have these purple stains all over them. And I knew what that was. And I'll tell you, I remember this thing inside of me was welling up like it was going to explode, like I was going to start screaming. And if I started, I'd never stop. And you'd have to put me in one of those I love me jackets. And I pushed those emotions down and hardened up. And I went back. They took me back to my cell. And when I was all alone, I fell down on that floor. And I'm an atheist, but I fell down on that floor and I'm sobbing and I'm begging whatever I don't even believe in. Don't ever, ever let me drink that stuff again. And I meant it. I don't think a human being could mean it any more than I meant it. And I got drunk the day I got out. So when I come to AA and you say, God's the answer, yeah, good for you. Good for you. But I'm beyond that. And there's that funny kind of arrogance in being too sick for God. Isn't that as kind of an arrogance? And yet in 1978, I got a weekend pass I was in this place that the courts put me in. And I got a weekend pass out of another place I was in, which ended me up in jail. And then I went to the courts, and the courts sentenced me to 2 years and stayed the commitment. And told me if I stayed in this place called the Ark House on the north side of Pittsburgh, and I stayed sober in there and did everything I was supposed to for a year, it'd be time served, and only a misdemeanor. But if I couldn't do all that, it was going to be 2 years and a felony. And so I have made up my mind on many occasions and meant it that I'm not going to drink anymore. And I did that again, and this time I really mean it. Because I don't want to do 2 years. I don't jail well. And I'm in this place, and I'm not drinking day in and day out, and week in and week out, and month in and month out, until I just can't take it anymore. I'm an everyday member of Alcoholics Anonymous because of the membership requirement in the third tradition in the long form that Bill Wilson wrote, not the Earl Treat version, the short form. And Bill originally said membership should include all who suffer from alcoholism. And I will suffer myself sober from untreated alcoholism to levels of insanity and desperation where I'll take my own life. I'll drink again. And I got to that point where I couldn't take being sober anymore. And if you would have asked me, as one time a counselor did right before I drank again, right before I ended up in jail on that drunk, if he said to me, Bob, what's wrong? I'd have liked to tell you. I really would. Maybe you could help me. I'd like to tell you, the problem is there's nothing wrong. It's just that nothing's right. And alcoholism consumes me. And it doesn't make any sense. As bad as I felt, if I could have had something to hang it on, like if I would have found out that day that a terrorist had killed my family, I'd go, well, okay, now I know why I feel this way. But I don't got nothing. And I just suffered from alcoholism, and I made my mind up that I'm going to just drink for just one night. I just need some relief, for God's sakes. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go back to jail, nothing. And I convinced myself I could get a 6-pack of Colt 45 tall boys and just drink that, no more, and just get a little relief and I'd be good. Well, about 4 cans in, it became very apparent that I needed some vodka. It's just a natural progression, I guess, and I don't know what happened, but I get really drunk, and when I get really drunk, I I have to tell the counselors and some of the people there what's wrong with them, because they need to know. And I got thrown out of there, and I'm living in the park, and I don't know if I'm 10 days, 2 weeks, I don't know. But I come to on a park bench, and I'm sick. And my gums are bleeding again because I don't eat. And I got sores that don't heal. They're ugly. And I'm grabbing myself like this, like I want to jump out of my skin, and I'm rocking back and forth, and I'm just in agony. And the worst thing about all of this is I knew something I didn't want to know. Yeah, I could get another half gallon of wine, and I could blot me out. But there's no more ease and comfort in the bottle for me. The last couple of years, I drank in depression. I drank in horrible feelings of loneliness. And I am in a trap I can't spring. I am not a suicidal guy, but you put me in a place where every alternative is bad. Sober, feels like I'm doing time. It's lonely and depressing. I can't stand it very long. And drinking is turned on me, and it's horrible. And I remember sitting there thinking about what this doctor had told me that prior year, after a complete physical. He said, I got the physical because I was hoping for a brain tumor. Then I could make my family guilty and they'd take me back. But he said, you kid, you got alcoholism, you keep drinking, it's going to kill you, but you're young enough. I was in my 20s, it might take 5 more years. And I sat on that park bench, shaking it out, thinking, 5 more years. And I thought of killing myself. And when I thought of killing myself, oddly enough, I felt hope. I felt better. Like I'm going to get this over with. Because that's how I drink. I drink to blot Bob out. Maybe what I'm really looking for is the ultimate blot Bob out once and for all. And I went to a bridge. I shuffled down to a bridge. I was sick, shaking, coming out of my skin. And I was on the edge of this bridge, perched and looking down at these railroad tracks below, and I was going to dive off that bridge and kill myself. And this terror gripped me. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm looking down, I'm thinking, what if this isn't high enough? I've had a lot of bad luck. I could but what if I don't die? What if I end up paralyzed from the neck down in some charity ward somewhere, and I'll lay there for 50 years. Nobody will bring me a drink, and guys like Trevor and Trey will bring their newcomers through the hospital, and I'll hear them say, well, Bob's what happens to you when you don't find God and work our beautiful 12 steps. And I'm paralyzed. I can't even give them the one-finger salute. There's a line in our book that kind of talks about me, I guess. Most of the book does. And before you'll ever come to believe in God, before you'll ever believe and trust a sponsor or AA or any of that, it says you'll come to believe in the hopelessness and futility, Bob, of your life as you've been living it. Yeah, I believe in that. I've been swearing to myself and meaning it that I'm not going to drink anymore, and I fail. And I've been trying to drink and not get in trouble, and I fail. I'm building a life on failure. And hopeless? Futile? Yeah, I know something about that. And it says that in the book, it says at that point, there's nothing left. No more game, no more moves, no more ideas, no more hope. And there was a guy in AA in Pennsylvania back in the mid-'70s. He said to me one time, the reason you keep drinking is you're not an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. I didn't even know what that meant. I look back and he became an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. And the hopelessness was not from not being able to get a good life or a good job or a girlfriend. The one thing, the most important thing in my life, I lost all hope, is that the ease and comfort and the feeling of freedom that I'd once found in the bottle, I lost all hope of jump-starting that again. I knew the truth. I can drink this stuff till it kills me, but I'll never get that effect back again. And that's what drove me to that bridge. It says, but when you come to believe in that, there's nothing left except to pick up this simple kit of spiritual tools that people in AA have been putting in front of me since 1971. And here we are in 1978. And after I've ended up a week later or so, I don't even know how long, it's all blurry, I ended up in a detox. I was trying to get to California because I thought if I got to California, I could survive the coming winter and maybe get some phony ID, and maybe I'll be a surfer. Or Capitol Records is there. Maybe I'll be a rock star. I had these little fantasies. But maybe I'll just not freeze to death, as I almost did on a couple occasions. And I didn't make it to California. I made it to Las Vegas, and I ended up in a detox there. It's my last detox. And the Buddhists say when the student's ready, the teachers appear. And there was a man who was my first sponsor, and he brought a meeting in there twice a week. And there was no H&I committee. He did it for the same reason that Bill Wilson, when he got out of Towns Hospital, went out of his way and sought out people to help because he knew it was his recovery was in that. And he brought a meeting in there twice a week, and he was my guy. We were brought together by divine appointment. And the view from the bottom is different. I didn't know that. But I think what happened is I was so demoralized, I had just enough of me kicked out of me that for the first time, there's no more arrogance, there's no more defense, I could hear you. And I remember sitting in that detox, and he was sharing, and some of his sponsees were there. And as he was sharing, I was sitting there, I'm nodding my head. And it was uncanny, because I never listened enough to anybody in AA to identify with anything, but I'm identifying with him. I remember sitting there thinking, my God, I'm like this guy. And yet, something, even though I was like him, something must have happened to him because he was happy and sober at the same time. I can't get those two things in the same zip code. And I thought to myself, man, something must have happened to him. Could it happen to me? I was afraid. I was afraid to believe. There's not much hope in my life. But I got to that place that Chris Christopherson talks about in the song that Janice made popular. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And sometimes you get to a point where the things you couldn't do before because you had too much pride, you didn't want to lose face, you didn't want to look back. Sometimes you get to a place where there's nothing left to lose. And I went up to this man, and I was scared. I said, would you sponsor me? And if you will, I'll do anything you ask me to do. I wanted him to know I'm not going to be difficult. And he lit up. And oh my God, he was happy to sponsor me. He started giving me directions. Listen, I had no idea when I said that they had so much stuff they wanted you to do. I don't know what I would have done if I'd have known that. And oh my God, you know how it is if you come to AA and they throw this stuff at you, and none of it seems like a good idea. And AA is like that. You don't see the value in it, and you don't think it's a good idea until after you do it. And some people, their arrogance, their feelings of difference send them to the grave in and out of AA because they never take the actions, because they've already has a judgment about the actions. And I started to do what he said, and he was a fanatic for service. He'd been a delegate. He started the convention and all. I mean, his whole life. There's people in AA that say that AA is the center of their life. He demonstrated that. And I sometimes ask myself, I hope the optics of my life are as good as the optics of his as far as membership. Because you can pretend to be dedicated to AA, you can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to show up. And he showed up. Everywhere AA needed somebody, he showed up. And so I got him to sponsor me. And one of the first things he did, he wanted me to start praying. I said, I can't. I don't want to say no to you, but I can't pray. And he said, why not? I said, because I don't believe in God. He said, I didn't ask you to believe in God. I asked you to pray. People are weird in AA, And so I said to him, well, if I pray and I don't believe in God, I'd be a hypocrite. And he looked at me with a big grin on his face and said, you've been a hypocrite all your life. What's the difference? Just do it. And I started to do it. It was one of many things that first year of sobriety that he got me to do that I don't think I wouldn't have done if I hadn't have been that demoralized and that broken. And you guys, you could see me. I couldn't see me, but you could see me, and you took advantage of my weakness and demoralization and changed my life. And I owe you big time. And so it's a great line, and we agnostics, God does not make hard terms with those who seek him. From the moment I started taking the actions of someone willing to consider the possibility that there was a God, God started showing up in my life. And it was amazing. It was just unbelievable. And it was the only way I came to believe. And then I had to, I had the steps, and I had a lot of amends to make. And my sponsor made me make amends before I was on step 8 and 9. I wish if I'd have known that then, I would have said, well, I'm not on that step yet. He wouldn't have cared, I don't think. But he made me turn myself into the courts and offer to go do 2 years in prison. I'm sad to tell you that, honestly, I don't know if I'm willing enough to do that today with the high probability I had back then of going to prison for 2 years. But I followed his direction, and I didn't have to do it. And I had to have my case transferred to Las Vegas, and I had to jump through a bunch of hoops, and after a year, it was a misdemeanor, which, thank God, because later I stood before the Nevada Gaming Control Board trying to get a license to be an owner-operator of gaming establishments in Las Vegas, and if I wouldn't have followed my sponsor's direction, I wouldn't have even stood there. Wouldn't have even been a consideration. And my whole sobriety is like that. I tell guys I sponsor that I wish I would have known this. I wish I would have thought of this 40 years ago. But I get these new guys, and you know how they are. You got to talk them off the ledge about every other day. Their heads just crazy. As mine was. And my sponsor used to have to bring me back to reality. Say, okay, I know. By the end of the month, you're going to be dead, and it's horrible and everything. But is everything okay right this second? You'd have to bring me back to the reality of the moment. And I eventually concede. And so I tell these guys, listen, why don't you get a journal? And every time you get something that's panicking you, that you're sure this is bad, write it down in the journal. And then put it away and come back later when it's no longer a problem and write down what actually happened. Over decades, it will become a document of how wrong your head is and how good God is in spite of you. Because that's the story of my sobriety. I had good sponsors that talked about trust in God. Trust isn't a feeling. It's an action. It's a way of showing up. In our book, and fear is the deal for me. It's the thing that can derail me. And it says, when we're afraid, we ask God to remove our fear and turn our attention to what he would have us be. If I really trusted and relied upon God, how would I act in this frightening situation I'm in? And that's the guy I need to be. And those are the actions I need to take. And sometimes I need to talk to my sponsor to get clarity on what those actions are. But it starts with that third step, and everything we do after that is to carry out that decision, not because I need to turn my will and my life over to God as much as I need to get it out of the hands of the idiot that had been sticking it to me all these years. And I got a really good life today. I don't like to talk about it too much because I don't know how to talk about it, or I wouldn't sound somewhat braggadocio. But I got a good life today. And it's not my fault. It's a byproduct of living this way of life. When the spiritual malady is overcome, don't hang on, because the rest of it's going to get better. It's just going to get better. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have low spots. One morning I found out that my wife and daughter had just moved in with my sponsee. I mean, that was a low spot. Jesus. I've had people that I love a lot that have died here. I've had reversals financially, and I've had success financially. And I'll tell you, I think that's harder to survive than the reversals. Of the guys that I sponsor that are double-digit sobriety that are having a rough go of it right now, it started because they had a lot of money, property, and prestige. And when Wilson says those three things will easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim, it's so true. I'm not in much trouble when things are bad because I'm calling my sponsor every day. I'm going to 2 meetings a day. I'm in. But when things are really good, people are saying, "Oh, Bob, you're just so amazing." I go, "Yes, I am." I guess the people in AA aren't as stupid as they used to be. That's the kind of stuff that'll destroy a guy like me. And so I'm sober a little over 46 and a half years. I have 2 hospital Skid Row detox treatment center commitments every week. I have jobs at my home group. I am honored to have jobs there. And I'll tell you something. If you serve in Alcoholics Anonymous and you continue to serve, you're going to fall in love with AA, because you'll fall in love with anything you serve, and you'll continue to be in love with anything you continue to serve. Some of you know that from experiences with your children. And so it's an honor to serve. It's a remedy to serve. It's medicine to serve. It's the rent I pay on this life, is the service I do in Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's funny that more you serve, the better your life gets, and now you owe even more, and Jesus, so I got to serve more, and your life gets better, and it's like I made some deal with the universe's worst loan shark. But I got a good life today, and it's not my fault. And if you're new here, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know if you identify with me. Nobody identifies with everybody. But if you heard anything from here tonight or from the other speakers that were here and the one tomorrow morning that you connect with, it's got you sitting there nodding your head, don't just sit there and nod your head. Do the things that we did or do that created that in our lives, because AA is available to everybody. There's only one person on the planet that can stop you from getting everything that God wants to give you, and that's you. Thanks for listening.